You are live.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Tech Week. We are sorry that this is running slightly later than planned due to, would you know it, technical issues. Anyway, I'm delighted that you're joining us live on LinkedIn. So we'll be talking about reshaping the future, perspectives from tech's next generation. And I'm delighted to be joined by an incredible panel of people who are very early on in their tech careers. So first of all, a huge warm welcome to Brogan, who's an application development analyst and master's apprentice in software engineering at Accenture, Jasmine Smith, who's a business analyst at Accenture, and Krusha who is a software engineer and also one of our award winners as well. So welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
So we've just all been at a marvellous event kicking off Women in Tech Week at Accenture. So we're all actually in the same building. So this feels slightly surreal. Anyway, obviously I know how wonderful you all are at very early stages of your tech career, but can you tell the audience just a little bit about you? So I'm going to start off with Brogan.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I did not come from a technology background at all, and I'm sure many of you will be the same. If you're looking to get into technology and are maybe worried that you don't have a background in tech, that's completely fine. I actually came from a psychology background, and then I've also studied a master's in behavioural science, and then I've decided to come and join the Career Changers program at Accenture, working as a software engineer, and I'm studying another master's in software engineering. So yeah, background's not techie in the slightest, but I wanted to get involved just because I thought I could bring a unique perspective, bring a bit of the human psychology to the side of technology, because it's all well and good having these sort of tech applications being implemented, but what's the use if no one's going to use them or knows how to use them? So I'm hoping that I can bring a bit more of a human perspective and a human approach to technology.
Excellent. I love that, Brogan. It's amazing. And Jasmine?
Hi everyone. I'm Jasmine. I joined Accenture 5 years ago now. Similar to Brogan, I didn't come from a tech background. Did do IT at A level, but very much on the softer skills of technology. And I joined as a degree apprentice 5 years ago. So wanted more hands-on support. I was looking at universities as well. That just wasn't really where I wanted to be. I wanted more hands-on learning, a bit of real-world experience, and I wanted something a bit different. All my background was all on IT, French, and English literature, so definitely not your typical computer science route at all. But that just shows that you don't necessarily need that background to be able to pursue a career in technology.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Jasmine. And Krusha?
So I feel like I'm the outlier here. I come from a tech background. So I'm a front-end developer currently working in the health sector and also a rising star in the digital category as of this year. But so my background is I've always loved maths, and I was always the child that would take toys apart and find out what's happening and how they worked. So it kind of makes sense that I'm here. But ironically, I did want to be a dentist for the longest time until I realized that I didn't like the biology aspect, but I liked the little tools that they were using. And I eventually did stick with computer science and tech in general because it gave me the good balance between like logic and maths, and then also the creativity and curiosity that working in this field can bring. But as many of you know, it also brings a lot of resilience when you're stuck on a code for hours on end on an error. But yeah.
Wonderful. Do you know what's really great here? That we're already busting myths around what you have to do in order to come into tech, and coming from those different backgrounds. It's different. Obviously, Krusha's journey, she's come from that kind of environment and she brings that experience, but the rest of you have kind of pivoted to tech elsewhere, and I love that. So, Jasmine, I'm going to come to you first. What surprised you most about working in tech so far?
I think definitely you can get the stereotype that in technology your first thought always goes to coding, and more of a really technical side of role that you would typically do. Don't get me wrong, there's obviously plenty of that with as well. But I think just the blend of creativity that you can get as well. I like a lot of different things. I wanted variety in a role, which is why this is so perfect for me in terms of there's so many different things you can do, and there's definitely a blend of the creative and the technical into one, so you don't have to be on either or of the spectrum there. And that's one of the areas that I'm developing in, is being that bridge almost between the tech that you can understand how that side of things work, and as well the human and the creative aspect there. Also, just the impact you can have earlier on in your career. I didn't expect to be running calls with senior MDs or even attending and also helping to organise large scale events, and supporting and also co-leading that. So just the breadth that there is, there's just so much out there, especially with all the community contributions and the social impact that we have and that we can get involved in, has just been really great. So there's just so much. It just opens your mind to how much is actually out there, and the variety.
I think what's wonderful is listening to you put creative and tech in the same sentence. Back in my day, it was just technology, it was wires, it was coding, it was kit and stuff like that. Whereas now we've got such a wide, broad spectrum of things that we can do with technology. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about navigating those early careers. So how have you navigated the early part of your career? And I'm going to come to you, Brogan, on this one. So what's helped you find your way?
Yeah, so I think one piece of advice is, in particular, is just always remaining open-minded about anything. I mean, obviously, hearing from my background, not being a tech background at all, coming into this and just thinking, okay, I don't have to get involved in all of the coding if I don't want to do that. Because when I first started, I was thinking, oh my God, coding, I can't be doing that, I can't do that at all. But once, as Krusha said, you get involved, you start sort of doing a little bit of it for some of the roles that you might be in. You might start joining some hackathons with some of your mentors or some of your peers as well. Just remaining open-minded, because you never know what doors can open from a particular door. So say you got a role in coding and you thought, I don't want to do that, don't necessarily turn it down. Take the opportunity, take all the opportunity you can get, because you never know that the next stage after that might be exactly where you want to be, or you might end up loving something as well. So just always remain open-minded, and also just never be afraid to ask questions as well. That's also kind of ties into being open-minded. Just ask the questions that you think are silly questions, because oftentimes other people have the same questions as well. So just don't be afraid to speak to people.
Absolutely. Jasmine, do you want to come in on that? And then I'll come to Krusha afterwards.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. I think just as well, just leaning into doing things outside of your comfort zone. There's you learning about yourself and also what you can do, and it's easy to think, oh, say for example, I can't do that, I don't have that either mindset or the skill set to do it, but you realize that you can do, and there's lots of people around that can support with that, whether it be more of the technical knowledge that you need or a bit of training. I think it's easy to think that you wouldn't suit a particular area. I know I didn't think that I would be speaking, whether it be on panels, LinkedIn Lives or in person panels as well, that I've done before. I used to be one. We had each form group back at high school would have a presentation to deliver, and I would always do the PowerPoint so I didn't have to speak. So then to then go on panels and just shows that you can do what you want, and actually it's enjoyable. You might find that you build more confidence around that, and even things like coming into the office, like meeting new people, you can find a lot of opportunities through that, and saying yes to a lot of things,
Yeah,
because that can open up so many different doors as well.
exactly. Always say yes and think about how you're going to do it later. Krusha, points on that?
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, everything that Brogan and Jasmine said is basically spot on and also like aligns with my experience. But I feel like, I mean, it is true, but tech is such a big field, and it can be kind of daunting to figure out where you want to go with it. Like when I was coming out of university, I did do comp sci, but when I was coming out, I also didn't know where I wanted to go. So I took the generic route, which is a software engineer. But I'm starting to see the sort of different avenues I can take that so that it fits and aligns with what I kind of want to do. So I'm a yapper. I love talking. So being a developer, you do like, well, I feel like I do get a bit isolated and I don't get to talk to as many people as maybe a consultant and an analyst would necessarily get to do. So being in the early stages, I'm able to still navigate that path that kind of works for me. And that does come by just taking the opportunities that comes through. So it may not be your project work, but it's like the side of desk that I can do that still help me build on those skill sets, and lets me experience that to kind of figure out if that's kind of where I want to go with that.
Yeah. So I want to stay on that thing, because you mentioned about confidence and stuff. And obviously, if you're kind of an extroverted personality, you find that easier to kind of articulate yourself. But what I've heard from a lot of people that are very early in their careers, they're often really daunted about the experience in the room. So they tend not to speak up as much still get their ideas. It's crazy, right? You know, that's why you've been employed. We need your ideas. So, I mean, how do you overcome that? So I'll go to Krusha and then I'll come to Jasmine.
Honestly, I'm not always confident. I can't just sit here and just say that, yeah, like I do speak up, because most of the time I do have the voice inside my head just telling me, yeah, you don't need to say anything, you can just sit and listen. But I think what does help is having a supportive environment. And I get that that may not be the case for everyone, but I'm really fortunate that I have got mentors such as people, the leaders in my Manchester office, like Alex, Matt, Finney, who are just there to basically help you and guide you along, and just tell you, like, shut that voice down and speak up, which helps a lot. And although I can say that it's better, I do speak up a lot more now, but it's a journey and I'm still like at the early stages of it. But I think what also helps is changing my perspective on things. So instead of just thinking of it negatively, like, oh my god, what if I embarrass myself, just changing around, being like, as you said, Vanessa, you're employed here. Like, there's a reason you're here, because they wouldn't have wanted you. And remembering that, and also attending events and panels like these, or also the We Are Tech Festival, which I also got the chance to attend. It just shows that there's other people that are in the same boat as you. Like, you're not the only one that's going through this. So that can also help you feel confident to just speak up. And just a shout out, there was this one talk that I did attend at the We Are the Tech, which was by Steph Sword Williams, F being humble, and not to swear, but
Yeah.
her talk about like self-promotion and just like going out there and doing it yourself and just saying it, like not caring about what others think. I think that's really like stuck with me, and helps.
We love Steph Sword Williams. Absolutely, a definite recommendation. The thing is, you know, that confidence is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. So, Jasmine, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely think I can echo what Krusha says. Confidence again to me isn't that's natural. I think just over time being pushed out, like we've mentioned, being pushed outside of your comfort zone, having supporters around you ask for your input can make you feel a bit better about raising your thoughts. But just having the perspective of my voice does have value, whether it be a case of fresh thinking, different perspectives in a room. Just about speaking up, you can bounce ideas off people, and actually create innovation, create value, whether it be to clients or to different social impacts or whatever the situation is. It can apply to a range of different things. And innovation, it doesn't necessarily come from either seniority or a particular use case. It does come from diverse ideas,
Yeah,
and that's where we can make change really happen. So I think just that
absolutely.
it's about perspective, I think,
And I
to
think
be able
also for
to.
the leaders that are watching this, we have to create space for this generation to articulate their ideas, because, you know, sometimes in a room we get into groupthink, we're always doing what we've always done, whereas this generation of talent can really push us a little bit more to think about how we do it. Brogan, do you want to quickly come in on that one before we move on?
Yeah, of course. I think it all ties into a little bit of imposter syndrome maybe creeping in there as well. And it's something that when I've been, participating in other panels or listening to other senior leadership speaking in panels and stuff, it's something that everybody experiences. So you've just got to, keep pushing through, and leadership are always support. I mean, especially here, and girls, you'll feel it as well, that they're super supportive, always helping you sort of create visibility and opening up that access to everyone. So, you might feel on the inside like, oh, my voice doesn't belong here, or I don't know too much, but just get stuck in and just understand that your voice does mean something, because you bring that sort of diverse perspective. So, yeah, I definitely agree with what the others said.
Absolutely, and I'd like to think that, you know, all young career people in their early careers have got the support that they need in organisations. You know, but I mean, if for whatever reason you don't, it's finding that support externally to kind of, you know, be the one that you do it on the right people. So, say for example, we've got lots of people watching this panel, and I really hope we have. How is it we can best support you? What do we need to do? How do we need to show up in order to progress your careers? I'm going to come to Krusha first on that one.
Yeah, sure. I think the best sort of thing that can be done is just offering that environment where we can feel welcomed and just like open to anything sort of thing, where we get the mentoring that we need. Because I think, as I've kind of mentioned, when you're working in such a big field, you don't know where you necessarily want to go, and when you're this early on, any path could lead to any direction, in a way. So being there to have those conversations helps a lot. But also, as well as that, a lot of people may not have these mentors or role models at home. Like, I know myself, I'm the first one to kind of go into this sort of tech field and have an office job like this. So having the people in my space that I can just use to navigate my own journey helps. And being open-minded, I think that's been mentioned before, is really key. Especially this early on, where we're still trying to carve out what that path looks like, giving them the opportunities that, let's say, like, I didn't know that I loved the whole creative thing until I kind of got into the job, and I kind of like worked out what I like. So then me kind of navigating away from the tech side and moving on to Accenture Song, that was only that I was only able to do that because I was able to have these conversations with the people,
Yeah.
and the company was able to support me in that sort of transition.
Fantastic. And Brogan?
Yeah, completely aligned to what Krusha said. And it's also just to echo what you said earlier, Vanessa, in your kickoff to Women in Tech Week. You don't have to be a leader to sponsor other people. So just like Krusha said, it's not all about senior leadership or, mid-management helping you out, which they do. They're completely there. But you can also lean on your peers. You can also lean on, mentors. If you see your mid-managers as your mentor, or if you see your colleague who's the same level as your mentor, you take support from wherever you need it. And support's always there. So, grasp it with both hands. And definitely, I think a lot of development happens with exposure. So specifically to leadership, like yourselves, Vanessa, where, how can you help early talent is just, getting that exposure out there. For example, this event here, the panel's fantastic. You can just put yourself out there, try something new, put yourself out your comfort zone, and you end up learning so much from it as well. So just get yourself out there as well.
Visibility, isn't it, for all of you? It's giving you that visibility to showcase your experience. It's giving you that visibility to create new networks and things like that. These are not difficult things for leaders to do. So another question, if you could design your perfect career journey, so like the universe is listening and this is kind of how it's all going to map out, what would it look like in terms of that progression, the development and the opportunity? I'm going to come to all of you for this one. So I'm going to start with Jasmine.
Thank you.
Everyone's listening, Jasmine. So,
No pressure.
go for it.
I think for me, is I like the phrase creative technologist, almost blending technology, creative, and social impact all in one umbrella. I like to do a lot of things. I like variety, which is one why I decided to do the degree apprenticeship, and also I like the element of problem solving, but also looking at the bigger picture. Um, I would obviously love progression. That is one of my aims, and but having it with meaningful impact, not just doing it for the sake of progression, but also pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. Because I think that's as well how you progress as personal growth. But when I'm thinking about the bigger picture, helping whether it be clients with roadmaps and where getting them to be where they want to be later down the line. I think I understand that my whole sort of interest, if I look at English literature, French and IT, how do you mix them into one? And it's actually looking at the communication aspect. And I think that's actually where my interest lays at heart.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate to be able to attend the Cannes Lion event, and through there, I was thinking about, through meeting so many amazing people and listening to a lot of panels, is the bigger picture, not just what I maybe do day to day, but the wider aspect, whether it be through social impact and supporting the local communities, and also within social mobility. So I think that's where I'd like to see my career go, and hopefully inspire the next generation along the way.
I
But
love that.
open to a lot of things. Who knows what could happen in the next 5 years?
So I'm going to hold on to this, careers with purpose, careers with impact. Brogan, what about you?
Yeah, I'm just going to go with my gut, with what popped into my head as soon as I heard the question, which is I'm not sure. And
Totally okay.
That's good, yeah. And I literally thought in my head, I'm not sure, but that is okay. You know, it's completely fine when you say, what's your perfect career? I think 100%, you know, having an idea, like Jasmine's got a great idea. She's been with Accenture longer. She's been in her career longer than I have, particular. But having a bit of an idea of where you want to go, but also it ties back into that being open-minded. You know, I'm happy to sort of go with the flow, try something new, because you never really know what path opens where, what you're going to like, what you're not going to like. You know, you could start doing a job that you thought you really wanted to do and end up hating it. So, you know, my sort of general, I have some very rough guidelines, which is I do want to sort of keep that element of behavioral science and see where I can find that bridge between human and tech, and making tech more accessible to humans and all that kind of thing. But in general, yeah, what is my perfect career journey? I'm not sure, and that's okay.
So just to give you some confidence there are people my age that still don't know what they want to do.
Yeah.
So, you know, live as much life as you can, see as much, ask as many questions, and you know, maybe we'll all get to what we're supposed to be at some particular point in life. Krusha?
Exactly. I didn't think about that until this last year, so it's only been recent.
Exactly. Krusha, yourself?
So I'm kind of similar to Jasmine. For context, we're actually really close in the office, and we actually met on a project where both of us were front-end developers, and now she's a creative analyst. But we both aligned in the whole creative technologies in that word. So this kind of does excite me thinking about my career, because there's so many things that you could do, but it is kind of scary, and I just want future me to come and tell me that this is what you're going to be doing in 10 years time down the line. So this is what you need to do now. But unfortunately, we don't have time traveling yet. But there's I don't actually know where I want to take it, but there's the whole aspect of blending the creative side with the tech side, and the whole impact for good that I do. Like, that's definitely going to be something that carries on throughout my career journey. And advocating for females in STEM is something that I've done since A levels or before, and that's something that I'm going to continue doing. But in terms of like the actual job side of things, I'm not too sure. There's that path, and there's a path where I was like, I want to do quantum computing, because that's also one of my interests. And there's another path where I want to be an experimental coder, because that's also another part of my interest. So I feel like I'm very malleable into like, oh, that excites me, that excites me. So I can't pinpoint, but I think something that just involves being around people is one of the things that kind of merges all of it together. But there was something that I was reading about Lena Nair, who's not technical from, this is nothing to do with the technology side of things, but she's a CEO of Chanel, and just her story about how she empowers and inspires others as she leads. And that's what made her such a big, powerful person, because she doesn't come from a fashion side like background, but here she is being CEO of Chanel because it's her leadership that people want. And people like yourself as well, Vanessa, like the stuff that you do is kind of like, that's things that I want to do as well. So it's just looking up to role models and using that to kind of navigate the journey.
And I think, as we discussed this morning at the kickoff event, is careers are no longer, the pyramid doesn't work for women. We know that, you know, and it's the learning skills at the bottom, and it's that middle layer where you get all of these different opportunities, the lateral moves, the sideways moves, because, you know, the ladder's perhaps bigger, where you can get global experience, finance experience, all of these different things. So I think you're in a perfect position in that those early years to go and explore as many of those avenues as you can. And I think for the leaders listening to this and watching this, we need to make sure that happens, because that's how we're going to keep these incredible young women in the tech sector. So we're going to wrap up. I'm going to ask you, so if we've got other people, young individuals thinking, oh, I might want to go into tech, you are their inspiration here today. Okay, so I want you to leave them with one piece of advice that you could give to someone who either wants to get into tech, so you can choose either, or someone who's just starting their tech career. What is the one piece of advice? And let's start with you, Jasmine.
Okay, I think it's hard to wrap up in just one piece, but I think the main
Go for it.
key yeah, the main key things would just be like leading with curiosity, proactiveness, and just willingness, whether it be to learn something new, to be quite adaptable to different scenarios, but also being still authentic and doing that. It can be quite easy to put yourself in a bit of a shell, or almost obviously you've got to be professional along the way, but still being your authentic self. I think that's where people see more potential within you and to see what you can be, even later down the line in your career. So I think they're the kind of key things, and just don't think that what you know now or your background defines where you could be within your career.
I think what I find so lovely about that advice is there is a Barclays CIO that I'm interviewing later on in the week called Saket Sharma. So very, very senior in his career. And he's more or less saying exactly the same thing as what you're saying around staying curious and being authentic. So this is what I'm saying. You are already leaders in your own right. I'm loving this. Brogan, over to you. What would you say?
Yeah, I completely agree with Jasmine. And it kind of ties into what she was saying about being authentic and making sure, you put your best foot forward and give your advice, don't feel like just because you're a new joiner doesn't mean you can't support other people. So, when starting your career, don't be afraid to put your voice out there, because diversity of thought is so valuable. So by giving your opinion, by giving your perspective on things, you are your own person, you bring a fresh perspective. Everyone else could think the same thing because they've come from the same background, they've had the same sort of, education coming up. But if you haven't, don't let that stop you from having your voice, because you can help encourage other people to broaden their perspective and broaden their understanding. And I think that technology can really benefit from diverse thoughts, definitely.
Absolutely. Krusha?
I think my one thing would be don't be scared. It's easier said than done, trust me. I know. But the stats aren't there to, well, the stats show, well, I read the Lovelace report. It's not what I want to see happening in 2025, but it's the truth. Like, they are against you, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't then still go down that path because, people don't look like you. But most of the time when I'm in a room, like when I'm working on projects, I am the only girl there. I am the only ethnic person there. But I'm still here, like I'm still representing, a different background. And that's what you need when you come into tech. You need that diversity. You are valued. And there is a path that will be created just for you, because it's such a vast thing. It's not just very stereotypical. No, like it's whatever you want tech to be, it can be that. And that's one of the things that we were doing when we were inspiring girls during a Girls in AI Summit, where we showed 240 girls just how different and vast that field can be. And
Yeah.
it's just be inspired by it as well. And it's like, if this is the start of your career journey, or even just start of your journey in general, just taking it for education purposes, you're going to be like reshaping the future when it comes to like your mid levels. So yeah, take it one stride at a time.
Fantastic. So, well, I look at all three of you and I think if you are the future of the tech industry, then I think we're in pretty good hands. I'd like to encourage the leaders watching to engage with their young talent. We need to learn as much from them as what they need to learn from us. They're the ones that are looking at the workforce in a completely different way. So I think, any opportunities to engage, to listen, to hear those ideas, foster that creativity is really important. So for me, to Jasmine, to Brogan, to Krusha, I think you're absolutely incredible, and I'm so excited to see where your careers go next. Thank you so much for joining me for Women in Tech Week, and everyone else, connect with them on LinkedIn. Let's help build their networks as well. Thank you very much for
Thank you
joining
for
me,
having
everyone.
Thank
us.
you for having us.
Amazing.
Good
Thank
luck,
you very
everyone.
much. Thank you.